Yeah, yeah, and it's
that learning how to do things on purpose. That's the hardest thing. Because like a lot of my favorite things I've made are just like I'm doing something like, oops, whoa.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna stick with that.
Ralph JAWN Visuals, Free Yourself, episode 143. So pumped for you guys to see this episode. Ralph is the nicest guy in the freaking world. I love this guy to death. So freaking talented. He's literally the mastermind behind all your favorite visuals in Philadelphia right now. And he is one of the 3 creators of Realty Records. Shout out to Sam Sirach and my boy Heffrey Dahmer, Heffrey Epstein. No, these guys together have created Realty Records, obviously, right? And Ralph is like the mastermind behind all the NFT stuff that they're offering for it. And he explains all of it. It's so freaking cool. There's so many things that you get like when you get an NFT from Realty Records, like you get extra, an extra like spot in a special part of the Discord, and you get like special access to different things at different shows and special access to like different edits and stuff that all the guys that are signed to Realty Records like do. And there's just they're building this whole community because of it. And like Ralph is the mastermind behind it. And I'm so excited for you guys to see this episode. He also goes into like his journey about how he started out like just doing music, and it all started with like hearing Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites in a hockey locker room because he played hockey. We connected on that because I used to play hockey. It's freaking awesome. And if you can't tell, like I just edited this, and I love this freaking episode so much, and we went into so many different things, and I love this guy. I'm just really excited for you guys to see this episode. So I'm gonna shut the fuck up now and let you guys let Ralph JAWN tell his story. So without further ado, our boy Ralph JAWN Visuals. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Free Yourself podcast. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ryan Janni, and I am naked. And today we have another beautiful special guest here. We got my man Ralph JAWN, the visual king, the guy who is behind all of my favorite visuals in Philadelphia, from mine to Sam's, Hef's, everyone that we work with. This guy makes fucking incredible visuals, and I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. Welcome, brother.
Oh man, thank you. What up, everybody? I'm Ralph JAWN. I'm wearing a shirt, but that's just because it's a little chilly in here. Oh man,
dude, I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Thank you. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, it's great working with everybody. It's fun being a part of everything, kind of like a different kind of viewpoint than most of the rest of our friends and stuff who seem to be a lot more like making music and DJing and stuff. So
yeah, right. And you're another guy that's responsible for Realty Records and this beautiful project that you, Hef, and Sam have got going on. So I touched on it with Sam with the podcast when I had Sam on, but you're the guy that's like mainly involved with like the NFT stuff and is going to be like creating these things. So I definitely want to start with like talking about how that whole like came about.
Yeah. So it's something, I mean, I've been since, I think it was like 2016. I first heard about Bitcoin. It was worth like $200. I was like, oh, this is stupid and going nowhere. Yeah.
Like the rest of us, right?
Oh my God. But anyway, yeah, it's something I've just always kind of followed along. I always found it interesting, even like when it was crashing real hard the first time, just because it's the decentralization part of it. It's a very big part of it, especially Bitcoin, not so much like Ethereum and some of the other ones. It's like very like stick it to the government. Like we don't need banks anymore. Like, you can keep everything in your own hard wallet. Nobody can tell you what to do with it. And that part is what's always kind of kept me interested. And now, especially as an artist, and even especially as a digital artist, as like last year when the Bored Ape Yacht Club and a lot of like the big like but the big like NFT boom, where people were waking up and like, I'm a millionaire overnight off a picture of a monkey. Like, like how do you not at least start paying attention? And like as someone who's learning to make similar kind of art. Like, all right, well, like, you know, I'm not expecting to wake up and be a millionaire the next day, but like there's something here. And like there's a reason that like some of these people are putting so much money into it. Like I want to learn about like how it works, what it is, and like, you know, like how I can kind of put my own twist on it. Because that's a, you know, any kind of art or business, like once somebody else does it first or does it the best way, you either got to do better than them or think of something new. And I don't have enough money or resources or programming background to do things better. So we're trying to think like, how can we do something different? And when I first met Sam and Phil, Hef and Sirach, and started working together, we clicked really well and just kind of, you know, each do a very important different part and it all fits together in the puzzle. And especially now we have our publicist, Janni, who's really been helping us bring things to the next level. And you know, we're trying to, especially with Realty Records, not just be, you know, everybody gets everything on Spotify and Apple Music now. You know, you can, even if you're independent, you can get on all the major streaming platforms.
Yeah.
You know, get CDs made up and stuff. So like, what is a record label providing? You know, back in the day, it used to be they were the ones that would press your records, and distribute and get you in the recording studio. Like you can do that all yourself now.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, what's a record label? They need to help you get out in front of people and try to monetize your art in a different way. And NFTs, I don't see it as that get rich quick, like put all your eggs in one basket, like this is the way to go. But I think it's a really good just extra avenue that a lot of artists should look into, whether you're musicians, digital artists, even painters, photographers. I think in the future, it could really become a thing with podcasts and public speakers and comedians and different things too. Realty specifically, the way we kind of look at it and explain it through our website is to kind of compare it like a Patreon membership, which I know is big with a lot of music artists, podcasters, pretty much everyone I just listened to a second ago as well.
Yeah, all that.
So the big thing with that, it's for you're more like committed fans, the people who want to see more than just what you're releasing to everyone else on Instagram or Spotify. Like they want all your deep cuts, like, you know, those things that you don't really feel comfortable sharing with the public necessarily, or like maybe you can't because of copyright reasons and stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing with Patreon, as a fan, you got to pay every month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's $10 a month over, you know, and that's just, you know, it can be different prices. So over 3-4 years, you're paying hundreds of dollars just to keep up with this content that you want. Whereas what's cool with NFTs, you purchase it once. And the way we have it set up is once you buy that token, you register with a bot in our Discord server. It reads your wallet, sees like that piece of code's there, gives you a role. And then once you have that collector role, it gives you access to all these hidden channels. And that's where we have like a bunch of unreleased music, like some of the edits and bootlegs that are never getting released. Like a lot of little gems that you hear and like I have for Sirach Said or coming up soon to be a Delinquent or a 9 Before 9, like those ones that you can't find on SoundCloud or YouTube anywhere.
Like the Home Depot,
where they're ending up.
Like the Home Depot edit and shit like that.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Shout out Sirach.
Exactly. And it's not like we invented this idea either. There's a couple other projects that started out on the smaller scale doing something similar. Wookie has this Wobblebug project that they're about to take that to a whole next level. I won't get into that, but you can look at their project, what they're about to do next with the Mega Wobs. Dirty Bird has a similar thing where I know like one of the cool things that I'm really inspired by at their last camp-in, if you were one of the NFT collectors, they had an extra like Renegade stage and an open bar where the only way to get in was you'd scan your phone, show that you're one of the collectors, and you got in, you could drink for a couple hours. I think I forget what names were. It was 2 real big names DJing too. So like, you know, just like cool things that you can like kind of give back to your community and people are supporting, especially from like the ground up. And another thing, just back to the Patreon comparison, you know, when you're done with that after like a year or so, let's say you're not interested anymore for whatever reason, you cancel and then just that's it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like renting an apartment or something. Like you don't get anything back. With the NFTs, if other people are interested, which of course isn't guaranteed, but like if you're not interested and other people are, you could sell it off to somebody else or like gift it to one of your friends and they don't have to keep paying for it or things like that. And from the artist side, when that happens, you can still collect a small royalty and kind of as your value, like you can sell things very inexpensive in the beginning. And as the value grows, like still collect on that and not feel like you kind of sold yourself short trying to, you know, build up your community early.
Dude,
Yeah.
Man, I asked the right fucking question because that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's not all profile pictures and like big like hype. Like there's a lot of those out there. There's tons of scams, but like, I mean, you go to somebody's house and they're trying to sell you protein powder. That's 90% chance going to be a scam and a pyramid scheme too. So like, just because this one's on your computer, I don't see why it's as scary. Like you still need to be smart, do your research, know what you're buying into. Don't get all excited just because you see something's price shooting up. Like I got to get in this. Like that's how you get burned. You know,
yeah,
the
like
Wolf of Wall Street movie, all those penny
shit.
stocks, like that all exists in all different forms. Like you got to be careful out there.
Yeah, it's so freaking cool that you guys are doing this, and it's so cool for me to hear from you this like detailed explanation of all of it, because like I live with Sam and I didn't know all of this, right? Like I knew a good amount of it.
Really, it's one of those things, and it's what's tough is because like the typical like crypto person is like you just talk somebody's ear off for like an hour, but like it's kind of what like you need to do. It's hard to just say in like 2 sentences what's going on because it's a whole different ecosystem of like how currency is being sent around and how things are being verified. And that's the big part is the verification that I think people need to kind of like realize has the potential, in my opinion. Like one thing they invented recently is clothing tags that have a little like Bluetooth thing in it that links up to the blockchain. Think about like all the big brands, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, like how many knockoffs and fakes do you see of their bags and their clothes?
Yeah.
If you could have a little thing in there that's machine washable and not only says that it's real, but says like if you were the first owner of it, like if you transfer it, like sell it to someone else, like kind of like a car title, like you transfer the token ownership and show like when you're going to sell it again, like, look, this is real. Here's where it was made. Here's who owned it before me. Like you have this whole trail and nobody can change it because it's on the blockchain.
And to take it full circle, we're talking about eliminating the government and the decentralization. This is how they sneak in with the expensive companies.
It's good.
We're chipping you. Like,
oh, don't get me wrong. It's already past the point where like the decentralization, like unless you're just a pure like Bitcoin maximalist, like every other one was invented by a company who has some kind of control over it. And sooner than later, like Uncle Sam's stepping in and regulating this. Like we're going to get taxed on all this. Like make sure you're keeping track of everything now. Because like it's all public information. They can tell where you're hiding stuff. Anybody can tell where you're hiding stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You just got to kind of look into it and know what you're looking at it. But that's kind of like compared to a bank though, where like all their books are private, like, you know, like the Wells Fargo thing a couple of years ago, they were sneaking people's money around and laundering things. Like on the blockchain, it's hard to see if you don't know what you're looking at. But like, if you look through like Twitter and stuff, there's all these like vigilante people. Whenever someone gets scammed, we're like, oh, this person came from here, sent this here, split it off into 50 things here. And then they all came back here. And that's probably your guy. Like,
dude,
it's tough because there's not much you can do after that. But like,
yeah. Like I remember it was probably before COVID, like a couple of years ago when like a whole bunch of like, it might've been Wells Fargo. It might not have been, where like all their credit cards, everyone's like debit card and PIN numbers got hacked. And it was like, I think this is probably like 7 or 8 years ago now that I think about it, where there was so many people that their cards got hacked and stuff. And it was like this whole thing, because this is before the like real boom of Bitcoin or anything like that. And it made it, I remember my brother like had to get a new credit card and debit card from it and stuff, like, and he had to go through a whole like identity theft thing. And like, it's just crazy how the deeper you go with something, it comes right back around.
And that's the thing with it is there's the catch too. Cause like, it's real deep, it's all safe. But like, if you lose your seed phrase to your hardware wallet, there's no customer service.
Yep.
There's no like, hi, Mr. Bitcoin, I need help or something like that. Like you need to like, with all this, like doing stuff on your own, it's the same thing as like going off the grid, living in the woods. Like you also need to educate yourself and make sure you're responsible, because it's like the Wild West. Like there's no government, limiting you or anything. There's also no government protecting you.
Yeah.
So if you give out your information online and someone gets in, or like, if you're not paying attention, you accidentally accept an offer for the wrong amount, like you can't cancel it. You can't dispute it. Like, it's a computer program that once it executes, boom.
Yeah. It's like you need a safe with like encrypted thing that has all your information, and it's always and it's like 100 pounds, so it's hard to steal that whole thing. Yep. And it's like a whole nother level to it.
And that's what a lot of people do. They have like their hardware wallet or like a cold wallet, which is like, it's just assets that you're not touching. Like, it's nice and safe. You never connect it to a website. You never tell anybody. You don't put your name on it. And then like, you have your one that you have set up for like NFT stores and stuff where you're buying and selling, and like it's connected to some things. And then you have, well, I don't have one of these, but some of the real degens, as they call themselves, have the real hot wallet, where like if someone, all those like Twitter, like NFT giveaways that are like 99% complete scams, you're just like, I'll take the chance. I got nothing. If they get into this, there's nothing in it. Like, good luck.
Yeah, it's the
but
same.
On the off chance somebody sends you $2,000, you're like, oh, yeah.
Right. It's all gambling. It's all,
it's exactly what it is. It's just gambling, except instead of like on cards or horses or like a stock on a company, it's brands and, whoever's behind the project.
Yeah.
It's whatever's behind that picture is the thing that I think a lot of people focus on, the picture and the art a lot, where there's a lot of things tied behind it, like the memberships and like the get-togethers and stuff. Like when they went to LA, Hef went to a meetup and like a whole party with one of the projects that he's a part of. Like, I think he still talks to Wall like all the time too. Like, you can make friends stuff. Even like I've made some friends that do like other 3D stuff through like, some of the same 3D art type NFT projects. And now we work together. I've played their art out at shows and stuff even. Like, it's cool how the communities come. It's just like another place you can kind of meet people that have like a like-minded passion and stuff too.
Hell yeah, man. And so this whole thing is like all about, sharing this art that you're making and building the community and even like a community within the community and stuff like that. So I want to talk to you now. Like, I kind of know your story and how you got into this, but like, let's take it back to like Ralph John that was freaking going to Warped Tour with Silver Space and like stuff like that.
So I actually never made it to Warped Tour. I wish I never. Yeah, somehow that one never lined up. But yeah, it was during like the punk rock phase. Me and Silver Space actually went to the same high school. At the time we're just kind of like passing by each other. We were like a year or two apart. But I'll never forget the day. I was a big hockey player, which I know we've talked about before too.
Yeah.
And I was in the locker room, and this kid put on Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites by Skrillex, and like my brain just did like a whoa, like what was that? So played,
like a lot of us.
Like we're hyped for this game, like we're going nuts out there. So I get home and I'm like, I think like that was crazy. Like it was like heavy guitar and screams, but like all different sounds. So the only other DJ I can think of at the time is at the time calling him Dead Mouse with the 5 or something like that. So I look up Dead Mouse, and of course the first song that comes up is Strobe, which is like polar opposite of Skrillex. Quiet chord progressions, like 9 minutes long, like, and I just had this like moment where like the dots connect and it's like the Jimmy Neutron like brain blast like, kind of going through. And that just like, if this exists and this exists, like everything in between, like it just has to be there. And then just, went down the complete rabbit hole. I think it was like a couple months later, I'm like buying a little Newmark DJ controller for my room. And like me and my friend Nick are like starting to do little things around like our high school and like house parties and stuff. And then, college, like just, was really into like festivals, like open format DJing at like bars and like frats and stuff like that. I think it was freshman or sophomore year. I was home for like spring break or something, get a text from a young Silver Space saying, "Hey, my coworker just gave me 2 tickets to a show they can't go to. Never heard of them. It's called Spangle." And we're like, that sounds really weird. Okay, let's go check them out. So we head over to the Electric Factory, get our minds blown in by this Spangle like live set with like a whole like stage set up, and it was Zebler from Zebler and Connie Experience doing the visuals even, I remember, because that was the first time I'd ever even heard of what a VJ was or anything, or like this kind of psychedelic electronic music. So that really took me from like the 1, 2, 3 jump kind of like typical just got into EDM a year or two kind of person to like really starting to explore like those deeper, crazier, like smaller room sounds instead of just like the big festival circuit stuff. And then, yeah, just kept going with that, was making music, like a lot of hip hop music I was doing, actually. I had a couple of friends who were rappers in college. So like we'd have a lot of fun, like just kind of recording and messing around and then like playing like 3 or 4 different like, little gigs around town that, some of the clubs in New Haven, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then graduated, came back to Philly. And that was when, the big turning point of like, all right, like this is just it. There's nobody telling you what to do. You're not supposed to graduate or go anywhere next. Just like, what do I want to do? And working full time, like trying to make music, like things just weren't really connecting where I wanted them to. First time I saw Tipper, which is probably just as typical of a, like, how'd you get really into visuals? But yeah, the first time I saw Tipper, it was Nightmare Festival down in DC. They didn't do it at Ramblewood that year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a full visual curated lineup where like they announced the VJs. I had never really paid attention when they announced VJs. And it was Detox Unit and Cullen House, where there was this scene that it was like someone was taking a camera, like kind of shakily walking down like a city street. And like it was just filmed and it was all like edited and stuff. And then you see like a CGI kind of like smoke coming out of like the sewer grate. And it was like this blend of like film and CGI. And then it just kind of like did this thing where it goes into a more like kind of typical like concert visual. And that again, like it just all kind of clicked that like all these different little mediums, like it's not like you have to be kind of like a master of like making things on purpose. Like you can just experiment with like footage and 3D and like combining things, and layers and like different stuff like that. So I was kind of messing around trying to like figure out how to do visuals and play music at the same time, actually, was the main part at first, because I'd done that working for companies, doing like DJ, VJ things through virtual DJ, where you play like music videos and like little moving backgrounds and like the same fader and the same sound effects, just like have like double mapped like visual effects. And then it was, when COVID hit, that first week or two, like working from home, like not going anywhere, and then seeing a bunch of people being like, well, if there's ever a time to like really learn something, I was like, well, checked out like Blender's free, Resolume, the demo's free. If you're a student or like me and have a mother as a teacher, that you can use like a .edu email, you get like half off a lot of other softwares and stuff like the Adobe suite, and just kind of started getting into it. And I realized like when you're making music, especially when you're not good at making music yet, you're stuck listening to your own music. That sucks. It's like your own beat on a loop and it's slowly getting better, or maybe even it's slowly getting worse as you go. But with visuals, it's fun because you just put it on like your favorite SoundCloud set or an album and you're just kind of jamming and like doing stuff and, trying to see what happens. It relaxes me a bit more. I get into like more of like the flow state that like I would get into sometimes with production, but like not it. Like I could feel like something was off, like I wasn't enjoying it like as much as I used to, or as much as I was supposed to. It was starting to feel like a chore more than like a passion. Whereas this, like I've just found that like groove, and it also helps, like we said before, like having so many friends making music and stuff. Like it was like I changed my Instagram name and everything, and I had like 10 people like, oh, can you make me stuff? I'm like, I actually have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Still honestly say that a lot. Like there's so much to learn still, but like there's, it's just like learning anything else. Like if you put time in, like get your fundamentals down, like, try not to compare yourself to like your big idols. Like, if you're learning music, like don't look at the big stars on festival circuits. Like try to look at like some other people who are just figuring it out too. And like learn the beginning steps, like your theory, your composition, like, it's the same thing with visuals. Like,
dude, to that point, like when you're coming up and you actually start looking at the people that are also coming up, like we all have a different experience in learning the art. So like when you meet up with someone to do it, you guys have like obviously some stuff's going to overlap, but you have some stuff that and some stuff that they know that the other person doesn't. So then you wind up learning from that person. And then a collab can come together that's like, way better than what one of you could do because of the combined, information that you guys have. And it's like, that's always been such a cool experience. Like that's how Chris and I started. Like it was so cool to get with him having this music theory background and me coming from learning from Cosmic Academy. Like it was this beautiful thing that like we each had like some of the equipment to DJ out and like different plugins. So like it was cool to like go back and forth with stuff. And it's been, obviously, I've said this a million times with how like I've ventured off to do stuff myself now. And it's like, it's obviously it's tough, but like, this is the fun part. Like, this is the part, like learning all this stuff. Like, I totally relate with like, you're only listening to your stuff and like, sometimes it's getting better, but sometimes it's getting worse.
But man, that feeling when you get like really in the groove, like there's nothing like it. Like really feeling yourself and feeling it grow. And like, at the end of like a long studio session, like looking back on what it was before, you're like, man, like that was fun. Like I feel like you feel good. It's like the same thing as like a huge workout or something. Like those same endorphins are just like pumping through you.
Yeah,
it's great.
For sure. And like the proof is in, in just how much you've worked on this. Like I gave you an idea and so quickly you came back with perfect, so if not freaking better than I wanted. Like, and the only quality that was like negative was like my picture taking of the things. Like, like I was like, you did.
No, I can learn better editing too. There's tricks. I'm not as big with that stuff. I'm trying to get better though.
But it was so cool to like, I had this vision, and as soon as I started talking to you, it like expanded more. And then you just like brought it all home. So like now I have this like sick freaking visuals pack to always have. And it's like, it's me in the same thing that I'm wearing. So it's like, it's this perfect, mold of everything. And it's just,
and that's why like, so I love working with people I already know too. Cause like, we'll start saying something and like, especially like a lot of my friends, like I am legitimately a fan, like even before we met or something like that. Even I told you that I was watching that Aftershock live stream and me and Silver Space were like, who are these remote controller guys? They're sick. And when I realized who you were at the pier, I was losing my mind.
You guys made my fucking day, man. Seriously, that was awesome. And to see how much you've grown from when we met to now, it's like, holy shit, dude. Like, because we first the first interaction started, like our paths crossed when like Aftershock happened and you were just talking, like it was during COVID and you were just talking about how you were just getting started then. And like to where you are now, and same with Hef is another one. Like you two guys, like from where you are now, you never would have thought that it was just like a year and a half, 2 years ago that you just started with this stuff. Like, it's so cool that, granted, the situation, like you guys took advantage of the situation and really really made freaking careers for yourself. Like it's so cool to see, man.
And that's what's crazy to talk about it. It's weird because I remember the first week, it was the very first week, like when things went to hard lockdown, and like I remember like, kind of seeing a lot of people like really starting to like freak out of like, crap, what is going to happen next? Like, even before I like had the idea to start like doing something for real, I said to myself and somebody else, I think I was hanging out with Silver Space, one of our other friends. I was like, what was it? Social isolation is going to lead to a lot of self-realization for everybody. Because a lot of people are used to going to work and going out and like just always having people around to like kind of bounce off of, whether like your emotions or like what you're doing or like decisions or like anything. Like, it's just you now. Like, you're alone with your thoughts for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then some. So like, I feel like that's really where like you kind of get to know yourself. And I think that's where like I really swallowed the pill of like being like, this is what I want to do. And like, even though I was making music and DJing for like 7 or 8 years, like it wasn't a waste, and I'm not quitting. I learned so much during that about events, like meeting people, like just how to be passionate about something and work towards it and learn and like go through the hurdles of like, you know, when you have that 1 month where you're just not feeling creative, but like forcing yourself to bounce back or something like that. Like, you know, it all led to being here. And even like, I take a very like Ableton kind of approach to like my other programs. Like you set like, you know, the first thing would be like your drums or your chords. Like, you know, you set the bass part of your scene, like your background, your colors, and like your main like focal point shape. And then like you add your little ear candy and the change ups and stuff, which would be like your lighting and like, you know, really mixing down your textures and getting little reflections or different stuff like that, or like figuring out how the movements go and stuff, and then like polishing it off. Like it's a very similar process, just different programs and, you know, like a whole different sense that you're using, I guess. But
yeah. And what would you say has been like the most difficult part of learning these programs?
I mean, they're big like 3D especially. They're just big. There's just so many options. Like, you know, like After Effects and like, so, you know, Cinema 4D and even Blender, like they're the same like tools that are used in like major movies and like video game studios and stuff. Like all that's possible. It's just like you have to explain to the computer like exactly what you want, like in its language. So it's just a lot of like I think it's like the fundamentals, like just really getting that core down. But like I think I'm definitely getting closer and closer. Like it's funny because you keep saying I'm so far ahead. I feel like I'm so early still as far as like, but I know what you mean. Like going back to a year ago, like I was really just twisting stuff and like seeing what happens. Like now I can at least like have an idea and like execute like kind of what's in my head and like think through like the logic of like, okay, I need to do this, then I need to do this. And then like you make this out of it and then it'll turn into this thing. Like, you know, kind of like the same way with like sound design and stuff like that. Like once you kind of learn some of those different FMs and like how, like what different like multi-bands and stuff do, like you can kind of do things on purpose a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
that, yeah, learning how to do things on purpose. That's the hardest thing. Because like a lot of my favorite things I've made are just like, I'm doing something like, oops, whoa.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to stick with that. And we're just going to kind of see what happens next now.
Dude, I freaking love it. That's so freaking true, especially when you're, you know, you're in, you get to the point where you can be in that flow state and you're like, you accidentally do something, but it like turns out so good. And it's like,
yeah,
that's dude, that's
like you save it for later and like this is gonna be a whole nother thing tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's all, like that's the same with like in maybe you can relate with like hockey and stuff too. Like you're just like you have this picture in your head of like these, you know, dekes and stuff that you can do, or like how if I'm defending someone, this is how I'm supposed to do it, right? Like hold the stick here in the passing zone and like skating back, like all of these things, and then like something happens where like a pass happens and you just like stick your arm out this way and it just like blocks it. You're like, oh shit. Yeah. Like,
and it's just
it's like the same freaking thing. And it's that's what's so cool about it. And I forget if it was I've you know, over the past 6 months, I've listened to a lot of things about like Greek philosophers and stuff like that. And I forget if it's Aristotle or Socrates or whatever, one of these friggin' brilliant minds that were alive, you know, hundreds of years ago, that's everything still holds up so freaking well. Like, and they were talking about, I really think it was whoever was Alexander the Great's main advisor. It was one of those three guys, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. One of those three guys was his main advisor. And actually, you know what? No, it was Plato. It was Plato. I know this because
I don't know enough to correct.
Yeah, no, it's Platonian theory of school. Like that's not the right words for it, but it's like what you should be learning. And it's like it takes it all the like art. It takes in sport. It takes in music and agriculture, like all of the different things that were like in the society then. And it's not just about and like fighting and stuff like it all centered around not just making you a well-rounded person, but just letting your mind, you know, go through, because they're all kind of different, you know, avenues, and you then find, you know, what you want to do with like the rest of your life. but you also have been exposed to all these different things. And it's like very similar, you know, your journey has been very similar to that. Like you were dabbling with me, you know, not dabbling with, like you were doing music and stuff. And then you through that avenue, you found like, oh, look at what visual artists can do. And you're like, all right, well, let's see what this is about. And then you got into it and you were able to hit that flow state. And like, and now you're like, this is freaking it. This is what I'm doing. And you love it. And it comes through so much in your work. And like, and not just that, like people love working with you because of you. Like it's your personality. You're such a nice person, man. It's like that there's a Duncan Trussell always says it. He's like, we can always be kinder. And like Ralph, I don't think you could be, because you're the nicest freaking guy. Like,
man, I appreciate it. But yeah, you actually just reminded me, going back to like, what's the hardest part is actually, I think what you just said, not the programs or anything, just balance. Like just finding the time to not only like make art, but like do everything else too. And that's not just visuals. Like that was the same problem with making music or like anything else, whether you're a painter, a dancer, like you name it, like having to juggle like a job, trying to get enough sleep, like exercise, like taking the time to like eat right, you know, not just like stopping by and getting fast food or something, like, you know, and put time into your art and everything. And like, you know, go out and still hang out with people, see your family. Like it's a lot, like trying to juggle it all, you know, like I have days where like, I'm all excited. Like I'll have a Saturday off. So like, I'm just like, I'm all excited, get like a big cup of coffee. I'm making, you know, some kind of project for like 8 hours. Then I realized like I barely stood up, like everything's tight. Like I need to go stretch. Like I skipped lunch. I'm like, that was really fun. And like, I got a lot done, but like now I'm behind on like every other aspect of life, like, you know, and then the next day is all just like laundry and cleaning dishes and everything else. Or like, you know, it's finding that routine of like, you know, now I've kind of gotten into a little better flow where like I get home, like I do like make sure like every day is my rule is I get at least one creative thing done, whether it's like opening up and making something or even just like looking up and like trying to learn something new through like a tutorial video or just like reading something or like even just like seeing something I like and just like thinking real hard at it to try to like figure out what happened and like try to recreate it. But like just making sure you keep that consistency of like every single day doing something. Because once you stop, it's just like that day that you stop eating right or stop going to the gym or like stop studying. Like you're like, oh, that was easy. And then you don't do it the next day. And then you don't do it the next day. And then it's been a week, it's been a month. And then all of a sudden you do go back and you're out of shape. Like, you know, like, and even just that little bit, like that 20-minute workout, like you did something today. You did good. Like,
yeah. And not, you know, I'm trying to like figure out the way to like, okay. So when it comes to exercise and working out, and it's such a good comparison. Like what you talked about, like when you skip the gym and you come back, it's like you get so much more sore, even if you take 1 week off. Right. And like, think of how much more frustrating and difficult it is if you are to, you know, take time out of that creative space, like, because getting in, I'm sure, you know, now that you've done this so much, like you get into that flow state a little bit easier, right? It's your knowledge of the program still
depends on the day. I'd say. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, like once you understand your tools a little bit more, it comes a little more of like an extension of you, not like always trying to figure out how to do something.
Yeah, because like when you go to the gym, like obviously I do my health coaching stuff, and and what's cool that that I've been told this from my past coaches and stuff. It's like you go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, because one time you go in, like it's going to be a shit workout because like maybe you didn't sleep well or like there's something in life happened, and then the second time you do it, like some stuff's going to be like clicking, but like your form might be off a little bit and you're just like, can't quite figure it out. But then the third time that you go in, you're like, everything's clicking and you're like, all right, I feel great this time. And then the fourth or fifth time, it's like, it's now you've used up all this energy. So now it's starting to go on the downhill again a little bit. But then what you got the one day that was great. You got the one day that was and you got the other days where like you moved still. And it's the same with creative processes, like any one of these programs. Like the more time you spend in it, like it's not going to be a great session every freaking time. Like that's just not, every visual that you make isn't going to be great. Every song that I make is not going to be great. And in fact, far from that. Like I'm a long way away from like every song that I'm doing being freaking awesome. But like, it's just like getting into the programs, like on a multiple, or multiple days in a row, and just getting that momentum
just
going.
Doing it.
Yeah. Just eventually if you make, even for me, even if I make 12 songs in a year, like one of them is going to be good enough to release, right? Like if the Cosmic has a whole, their whole program is based around, not quantity over quality, but like if you make 4 songs in a month, one of them is probably going to be good enough to release. And like, that's something that, and it's like the 20-hour rule. Like if you spend 20 hours on a song in the studio over the course of a week, you should be able to get a song done. Like it's like you said, like getting into the program more consistently and getting like the fundamentals down to make it so that you can get to that point where 20 hours is a solid amount of time for you to do idea or creative idea phase, then mixing stage, and then mastering stage, and all of that, in a 20-hour period. And like for people that are listening here that have no idea what it takes to make a song, like 20 hours is that's still like quick, that's still like you get to when you get to a certain
you're not
level,
wasting any time in those 20 hours to get that done. Yeah, let's say that.
So every time, anybody that listens, like the visuals that you make, like that's it's not just, when I gave you the idea and gave you the pictures, and like your ability to come back with that stuff so quickly, like I say it was so quickly, right? Like because it was like well,
it was all that day. We were kind of just shooting things back and forth and like updating and got it done. But yeah, it's everything that builds up to like learning all that. Like the same thing as like any career, like everything you learn through like school or like, experience in your trade or apprenticeships and stuff, like, that's your time, not the hour that you're spending welding or doing whatever it is. Like,
hell yeah, man. It all comes back to, the consistency with it. Like every coach in every sport always talks about like just doing the right things consistently enough to be successful. It's not about being the best every single time you step on the field, you step on the ice, you get into the VJ programs. I get into Ableton, I get into the gym. It's not about that. It's just about being consistent and being able to build and also taking it back to, you talking about, the self-isolation leading to self-actualization. That stuff is like, it's if we do something, but then we don't have that period of reflection where we're like, all right, what was good about that? What was bad about that? Like that part is just as important. And now I'm like adding steps to this like crazy thing. Like the first thing is like, just get in consistently, right? Like that, if you can do that, like then you can
start maximizing things.
Exactly. Then you can build on and build. Because then the things that are hard at the beginning become easier. And then the things that you that were too hard to do because the easier things were more difficult. Then you can now learn these different things. And it's like, it's so cool to have, to kind of bring this back to Realty Records and everything. It's like, it's so cool to watch Sam, Hef, you all on your own paths. Like I've known Sam obviously the longest, and it's I've seen him from when he was just DJing at the frat house to get into this point, and to see you from when we were just starting off doing the visuals for the Aftershock live streams, and to see Hef, like I literally met him right before he was about to open Ableton for the first time. And like to see, like to have like 4 songs of his on my USB that I'm like anxious to play, like that I want to play, it's like, it's so cool, man. And I'm so grateful for this time that we've all had together. Cause we've built some beautiful things. We've built some, beautiful relationships and like, the sky's the freaking limit.
And I really think that helps so much. Like we all just like motivate each other so much. Cause even just getting like a little text or seeing like, oh, somebody else just did something cool. I should probably go do something cool today too. Like, I haven't done anything yet. Like, this is my, like, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to turn everything on and we're going to do something. Like, you know, even if it's just a little bit, like, I think it was, I forget it was either you and Cusso or Eckhouse talked about like the 10,000.
Oh, freezing up a little. It's all right.
It'll be the same point.
10,000 hours.
Yeah.
I was talking to Eckhouse about that, and you said that the author came and gave your freshman orientation speech.
Yeah, so I think it just from there. He was talking about a lot of different things, like career, art, sports, like anything. And I think that's the big thing here is that like any kind of passion, like no matter what it is, it's all the same thing. And I think that's what's most important in just like life, like finding whatever it is that just like really makes you want to go above and beyond in yourself, whether it's art, sports, like personal improvements, your family, your career, like, you know, you name it, whatever that thing is that like makes you want to do that more than anything else in your life, like putting the time in, learning correctly, like getting your fundamentals down when you're new, not trying to just be a superstar from the start, you know, like learn your chord progressions. Don't go right to the crazy triple drop stuff, like, you know, or start with just a bar. Don't jump up to 4 plates and hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Or sports, like, you know, like you start at practice. They don't just put you in the game right away. And just keep consistent, you know, like in basketball, it's that kid that stays after practice and it's just hitting jump shots for an hour that ends up leading the team every year. Or like I played lacrosse. It was this one kid, he'd be playing wall ball like 4 hours a night after school every day, just throw and catch and throw and catch. And like, he never dropped a pass in the game and was throwing dimes all over the place. Like it's nothing, it's no secret. It's just committing to yourself and what you want to do and like do the thing, like whatever it is. And like anyone can do anything. Like, I think that's the craziest part is like, it's intimidating, but like once you really open something up and like, yeah, that first day or two, like might be really, really hard. Like, you know, I'm trying to teach myself some computer programming right now because I want to learn like Unreal Engine and use that for like 3D graphics and visuals and like live rendering stuff. Like I was terrified dipping in, especially through like the Discord and some like the NFT programming we've been doing. And like, you know, anything that you think is that hard and scary, like it's doable. If other people can do it, you can do it.
Hell yeah, man.
Like,
and that is a hell of a way to end this podcast, brother.
That's all I got.
That was freaking, that's perfect. That's perfect, man. I'm so grateful not only to have you on this podcast, but to know you and have you as a friend, brother. It's been an awesome past 2 years watching you guys grow and watching Realty Records come to life and Impulse and like all these things that you guys are doing. And I'm so excited for people to see this podcast because now they have this huge explanation for like the whole NFT series behind Realty Records and stuff. It's just like it's so cool to see.
Yeah. And we're just getting started. Like this is that ground floor, like, you know, meet everybody, figure out if there's something you want to do that like you like doing and contribute, like reach out, like join our Discord. It's a huge family. Like people give feedback on everything. It's not just house music. Custo's in there dropping dubstep every other day. Like, you know, anything that you think you can do that you want to do with other people, like there's other people out there that want to do it. You just got to go find them.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I love you, brother. I'll see you soon in Philly. I'm not sure exactly when. I got stuff this weekend from my buddies competing, and then the next weekend I got a wedding. But like, we'll see each other soon. I love you. I love you so much, brother. And to everyone that watched and tuned in, thank you so much for your love and support. It truly means the world to me. I'm can't tell you how grateful I am. Until next time, peace, love.
Thank you, Ryan.
Unity.
It was a pleasure.
Respect. I love you, brother.
Should we do the plur through the webcam?
Yeah.